Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I'm gonna show you how I made this flower bed out of a free pallet. Stick around, the video's coming up. Now, I'm usually not one to use pallet wood for any of my projects, but I decided to give it a go because we do need some flower beds, and nothing is more inexpensive than free. So I found a couple free pallets, and yes, I mentioned I was only using one pallet. I'm actually using two, but that's because I'm making two different flower boxes. For the video's sake though, I'm only gonna show you the build on one of them just because it's the exact same thing, I just duplicated it. So to start off breaking down this pallet, I just used a circular saw, cut each one of the planks down. You can use a reciprocating saw, that's what a lot of people do, and actually cut in between the planks to cut all the nails off. I didn't do that because I don't need the planks to be that long, and cutting it with the circular saw was much quicker. I do, however, use my reciprocating saw to cut through the nails and these boards that are left after using my circular saw. There are many ways to break down a pallet. The one way I highly do not recommend is using a crowbar. That's just tedious and it will probably take you about 3 times as long. After them all broken down, I had a nice big pile of wood. Next, I cut the legs and the outside frame on my miter saw. What's really cool about one of these pallets is it has these cutouts for the forklift to lift the pallet. So it kind of makes a leg look, which I really liked. I then cut down all of the planks to 15 inches because the planter box is gonna be about 15 inches tall. Well, it'll be closer to 17 inches, but the actual box opening will be about 15 inches deep. Then I used my pocket hole jig to cut some pocket holes on the legs and on the top part of the frame. I mean, this wouldn't be a poor man's workshop video if there wasn't some sort of pocket hole joinery, right? I mean, pocket holes are quick and easy, and for a planter box that's free, combined with a little bit of glue, this will hold just fine. Using a little bit of glue and those pocket hole screws, I connected the sides of the bottom frame to the legs. Really, this whole thing is kind of the leg, but I call that little cutout a leg because it looks like one. With pallet wood already being a little wonky, it's important to use a clamp while doing these pocket hole screws. I like the Bessie parallel clamp the most when I'm using pocket hole screws. It just helps to keep everything square and even while you're getting the screws set. After I built out the base of the box, I had to build out a frame for the top. I did this the exact same way I did the base. It just doesn't have that little cutout like the base does to create kind of the leg look. But ultimately, it is the exact same way as I did it previously. Once the base and the top frames were all built, it was time to add the side planks. I laid the base and the top frame on its side and evenly spaced them out about 13 inches away from each other. I then arranged the planks in a way that I thought looked the best. The last one was always a little bit big, so I had to cut it down on my table saw. Oh yeah, I forgot to tell you, if you're using pallet wood and you're cutting through the nails instead of removing all the nails, you need to make sure that you know where you're cutting. You don't want to be hitting a nail with your nice table saw blade or your miter saw blade, so always be aware of where you're cutting and where nails could possibly be. Once I had the planks all arranged the way I wanted them to be, I removed them, added some Titebond 3 waterproof glue, and then relayed all of the planks all back down. I then used my 18-inch brad nailer and nailed them all in place so that they would stay and be secure while the glue dried. And this is what one completed side looks like. After completing one side, I completed the second side, and then I did the exact same thing on the ends. I really got into a groove of completing this. It really only took me about 10 minutes to do an entire box with all of the pallets all around it, and so it's a pretty quick process. Hey, if you haven't had a chance already, make sure you subscribe to the channel and ring the notification bell. We got some great news that's coming up about the shop and about our channel, so make sure you get subscribed so you know what's going on. And make sure you leave a comment if there's something that you would have done differently. I'm a learning woodworker, and I'd love to know how you would have done this project. And this is what it looks like with all of the sides completed on the box. Looks pretty good. Next, it was time to attach the bottom so that all of the dirt from the box wouldn't fall out. I used some more planks to put on the bottom using the ledges of the sides as a reference. I had to cut down a small sliver of a piece to kind of put in between, but I essentially attached them the same way I did the other pallets. I used some Titebond 3 waterproof glue and my brad nails to go into the kind of end grain of the other planks. I then added a couple stretcher supports that had pocket holes drilled into them, just so that the brad nails and the glue wouldn't have to be the only thing supporting all the weight of the dirt and plants that go inside it. Once that was all done, it was time for the most tedious part of any woodworking process, the sanding. I did a light sanding with 120 grit sandpaper. I didn't want to sand too much because I wanted to keep the pallet wood look. I just wanted to make sure I took off any edges so that no one would get injured, especially my little daughter on these boxes. After the sanding was complete, I added an outdoor waterproof sealant to make sure these things would be able to last through all of the crazy weather we have here in Utah. And yeah, if you decide to use this stuff inside without the garage open, make sure you turn on your air filter. This stuff kicked up a big smoke of stuff, and I needed to make sure that I filtered all that out. Next, it was time to get this thing all filled up, but first I needed to add a little bit of this weed blocker. I'm not really concerned about any weeds, it's more to make sure that the dirt doesn't seep through any of the cracks. I just cut a big enough piece to put inside and then went crazy with my stapler all around the inside and called it good. Now I asked the family gardener, who is my dad, what I should put in these things, and he said you should coat it with a bottom layer of gravel just so that it'll soak up any water that does get down there, and then just some potting soil. So that's what I went and picked up at Lowe's and used this potting soil. You can see the second one that I built in the back. These are going in between our pillars where my dog has actually dug up all the plants put there by our HOA. So I just decided to make my own planter boxes so that he can't dig them up. And I'm only planting one flower because it is getting towards the end of our season. Next season, we'll probably plant some more flowers. Maybe in the other one, we'll do some herbs. But I'm really excited how these planter boxes turned out. They look awesome. They've really improved our home's curb appeal, and they were free.